Coming up on this episode of Free Lunch. My mom was like, this is why I got to get this kid out of New Haven because he's already showing signs of hustling. I don't need him his jeans today and then it's the block tomorrow, you know.
Yeah, you're going to have bad days. You're going to have days where you're feeling off. You're going to have days. But the reality is that you don't stop even when you're feeling those days.
Yeah.
You push through. Like you said, you're feeling vulnerable today. You're feeling
So basically the consistency is not being at 100 all these consecutive times in a row. The consistency is showing up.
It's showing up.
Like consistency is not necessarily like showing up every day 100%. I'm killing it, nailing it. It's the show up.
Yeah.
That part. Right there. Maybe it's because I'm the oldest.
Well, the way that I'm
the oldest.
You are the oldest.
All right. You will pay your tribute to me.
See,
I can't front. I did jump on that.
I know you had to.
But I will caveat, I was coerced. It's Free Lunch Season 3 with a special thanks to our sponsors, Bullseye-LLC.com, Ready, Aim, Bullseye, where safety is our ammo, Gen1LLC.info, Generation 1 Logistics, taking pride in putting our carriers first and helping owner-operators get premium loads, stay organized, and increase profit, and ScarletOakCandleCo.com, the self-care experts. What's going on, everyone? This is your host, The Real Frii. I'm having a day. I don't even start my podcast episodes like this. What's going on, everyone? It's your boy, Freestyle Gospel, a.k.a. The Real Frii. And you know what? I got several things going on today. I have my co-host here with me, Aaron, in the building. Aaron only gets a small clap, all right?
That's fine.
He's no longer a new guy here.
But I was going to say, that's something we established last time.
Yes.
So I'll take any claps at this point.
That's it.
Any applause. Any applause are good applause.
My throat's sore from rehearsing all week. Trying to get a new song prepared for Easter Sunday. Microphone was
causing any problems for you?
Acting like a jerk today. All I wanted to do is put a very nice tabletop mic stand together with the mic. That's it. Unscrew the mic off of the boom arm. Screw the mic onto the mic stand. That seems pretty easy enough.
In theory, you would think it would be pretty
straightforward.
Simple.
Very straightforward. There's nothing complicated about that.
No. Usually there shouldn't be.
Nope.
Unless your name is Frii and it's
a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
It's a hump day. Hump day on a Wednesday. Yeah. Thoroughly aggravated, guys. Just give me a few moments to just gather my emotions. I had Aaron sitting here for an hour waiting for me to get
Was it
started.
really that long? I didn't even realize it. I'm not even trying to like gas you on that.
Not really. It was
so.
It was more like 30, 40 minutes.
It was like 30 minutes.
Because you were here late. You were supposed to be here at
There it is. See, so it comes full circle. So Frii, it's just we sharing the co-host thing. We're sharing the blame. It's kind of it's all there.
No,
it's all there. No,
I don't even want to share in the blame at all. You know why? Really? Because the amount of money they charge you for this microphone.
This is true.
It should be a dream. Taking it off of anything, place it on to anything. I should have taken this mic off and put it on a goddamn airplane, and it should have been amazingly easy, as far as I'm concerned.
That's the microphone the captain uses when he lets you all know, like, thank you for flying with us today, and
thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for flying American Airlines. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Please come again. We hope to see you.
I was gonna say, actually, speaking of flying, and you don't mind me just jumping right in. I was gonna say, like, this week was crazy because specifically, now I think I mentioned to you that my sister's getting married.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So shout out to my sister. And the fiance, he's a good dude. But we booked the tickets for their wedding last week. Before I came back on here, and as crazy as all the gas prices and everything had kind of been, and I think we've kind of gotten, I don't want to say used to it, but like it's not surprising anymore. Those tickets were kind of nuts, and I was having a conversation with my family recently about like the difference between, how everyone's so excited, but at the same time, everybody's looking around like, man, this is a lot of money. And so it's just something. So it's like what the things that you do for the people that you love, because, I am ecstatic for my sister, and she's so happy, and, You know, it's kind of weird being a little brother looking at your older sister who like, you know, terrorized you as a kid and like seeing her happy and being happy for her. You know, it's a weird. I mean, I'm just only the little brother by 6 years, but like, you know what I mean? It's one of those weird things.
Mm. Well, I'd say you're probably a better one than me. A better one than me, bro. I'm not spending significant portions of money on any of my siblings. Maybe it's because I'm the oldest.
Well, the way that
I'm the oldest.
You are the oldest.
All right? You will pay your tribute to me.
See, she's the oldest, so I guess this does track. This does track.
See? You goddamn right.
Well, the one thing I did say is that I am going to be I'm going to every restaurant. I'm going to touch.
Where is it going to be again?
It's in Cancun. So we're going to be in Cancun.
I've never been, so
I've never been either.
I don't know how amazing or not amazing that is.
Free, I'm touching every single grain of sand on that beach for all this money that I've put into this. It's one of those kind of situations. But like I said, I'm just happy, man. Like happy for her and like having that genuine happiness for your family, you know, through the ups and downs, through the good and the bad is always something that, you know, you got to cherish.
Was she one of, well, how many siblings do you have?
So I'm one of 4.
Okay.
So yeah,
out of all your siblings, who's married, who's not? She's
going to be the first.
Really?
Yes.
So was that like, you know, amongst you and your like other siblings, did you guys do like things like play side bets of like who would be last to get married and stuff like that?
We haven't started yet, but I think that's going to start once we get down to Cancun. I'm dead serious. And it's funny because like, you know, I'm in a committed relationship. So like I got like the inside track a little bit, but I might not.
Aaron's engaged or something like that, guys. Are you engaged?
No, we are not yet. We're not yet. It's on the way.
He's basically engaged.
I'm basically engaged. It's on the way.
They're shacking up, so they're engaged.
So
it's gonna happen.
So inside baseball, I don't think me and my siblings have that going yet. But I can tell you right now that my aunts, my mom, my dad, their generation, they definitely got it. Because from my cousins, we're like
They definitely got what? What do you mean?
As far as like got that bet going on who's going to be next. Yeah, they definitely got that. Because from most of my cousins, I think we're closer towards the back end as far as cousins that have been married or going through the process, just off the strength of we're younger. Like my oldest cousin from my like dad's immediate siblings is like 40 something. I think Bird's like 40 something. So yeah.
Nice. You know what I think I'm gonna do too with this episode?
Yeah, what's up?
I think this is gonna be like the first episode I try to load onto Spotify, the video.
Oh, nice.
Because they have that like new feature now.
Okay, you were telling me about that actually.
Yeah, I just haven't felt really much motivation to try it.
I mean,
actually, like in the beginning, if I'm honest, they actually had it where it was like, because it's like apparently in beta.
Okay.
So
you can't use it unless you get the beta code or something like that?
Well, like you had to get approved.
Got you.
So I got like an email sometime a couple weeks back that I got approved to test it out or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot.
I mean, I think one of those things about it, and you know, this might be, you know, going a little bit on brand for y'all, but I really like the fact that like your video elements are always so crisp, even like, you know, even episodes that I'm not. I mean, if you actually can make video that makes me look good, you know, that's always going to be great. But
this guy,
no, but seriously, it's like, it's using that aspect of.
Well, it's because too, like I know like a lot of people are. Yeah, I guess like visually driven.
Okay.
Like that.
Yes.
So a lot of the feedback that I get from other people who listen to the podcast, you know, they're like, we'd like to see, you know, is there a video of this or, you know, where we can see it? But I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this.
You know what it is? I just don't feel like I don't like the feeling of being strong-armed into like what the people want.
That's exactly what
I want to decide when I'm ready to go.
That was exactly
not because
what I was going to ask you.
There's some overwhelming like, or what the analytics tell you, and what does the research say?
Oh, don't even get me started on
like I don't feel like having the video like always up. You know, I want it to be a treat if I do a video.
See, that was the thing. I've worked with you enough times, even, you know, on the podcast, outside of the podcast, and just you know, getting an opportunity to kind of like get a pretty solid relationship. At least you could tell me anything otherwise, but pretty solid relationship working with you and everything. And I've noticed that you are definitely inspired by. You don't let others inspire you to the point of, oh, I have to do this now because someone told me. So that's why as soon as you said it, like I was like, oh, so what's your response when people tell you that? Because, you know, I would kind of almost deem it like, you want to go the opposite way.
Nah, really. I mean, I just like to feel like I genuinely want it for me. But it's like kind of even like the premise to even starting the podcast, like, where not only in the past when I first started from season 1, but even now, like present day, a large part of the kind of trajectory that podcasts are taking nowadays is like with the current events. Mm-hmm. Like that's like always a big thing, so it's like, if you're gonna have a podcast, man, bro, oh my God, did you hear about this in the news or this? Like you gotta make sure you talk about that, and it's like, maybe here and there I'll do that. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to feel like that's what I need to do as a content creator in order to have something interesting to talk about. Mm-hmm. I kind of want the dialogues to really be more or less as if my podcast audience just decided to come over to my house and hang out on the sofa. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? No, and if you came over to my house, and again, like, right, so look at the podcast Free Lunch as like my house. And I'm going to have the dialogues and conversations that we probably would have if you came over to my house. And because I don't watch TV much or the news, we probably wouldn't spend time talking about current events. Yeah. We may here or there.
Because there are certain current events that you're not going to be able to get away from.
There's certain things, but like I don't want that to be like kind of the blueprint. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of podcasts that I see, that is the blueprint. It's like we start off with or end or have some segment where it's like a current events. And I get it, because like as a content creator, you're trying to, that's the constant hurdle, is figuring out what new content to create, right? But for me, I feel like I'm not at a loss for that, at least when it comes to like speaking, like, having conversations and just talking about my personal, like, everyday life. Right? That's the premise of this show, which is why it's called Free Lunch, because it's meant to be in some way, shape, or form about me, my day-to-day, my journey, and how that happens to cross paths with some of the other people, the guests that I bring on, similarities, whether it's family, relational, parenting, entrepreneurship, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to say, it's interesting because I can get, and I think actually that number is higher. I think it's definitely like 90% of content creators use current events as a baseline for what they're going to do. I absolutely believe that. And I also think,
dare someone to be unique and break away from that.
See, and that's the funny thing that you like looking at it from that standpoint, because, and, I rely back on to where my expertise comes in from, just off my own schooling, like the way journalism is and the way that, the news cycle kind of works, folks are almost, they're already focused on what the next story is before they even fully digest the previous one.
Exactly.
And so that's where it becomes an issue when you're trying to create content, because now you're in the rat race. Now you're on the wheel trying to, like, something crazy happened, you got to make another story. Something crazy happens, Will Smith slapped somebody else, you got to go into that.
Will Smith slapped somebody? I can't front. I did jump on that.
I know you had to.
But I will caveat, I was coerced by my good friend, Ro Miller. He forced me. He literally forced his way into my studio and said, bro, we got to jump on a podcast about that. Anyways, I'm gonna skip that thought. I almost brought it back, guys, but definitely by the time this podcast airs, it'll absolutely be old news.
Yeah.
You know what? Matter of fact, I've been actually thinking though of it, just in light of like the whole how I put out episodes, like in as far as like order.
Yeah.
Right. I have a ton of episodes already recorded with other guests. Right. Like literally, like, to probably last me another month and a half.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
Yeah.
But none at all like how I had from season 1, where it's like some episodes was just me. And so what I've been thinking about doing is like,
this is how you break the news to me? I gotta go?
No. Jerk. No, I've been thinking about like certain episodes just randomly throwing to the front of the line. Where if it is just me, or if it's like where I like, it's a day where I could get, my co-host in here and it'd be like that episode or something. So where it kind of like shakes things up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it might be like excuse me, it might be one of those things where I decide to make those the episodes that go on the video for Spotify or something.
Yeah. Make those the unique episods that
you know what I mean?
Get to see. And I like the idea of like almost like jumping it up to the forefront, not even just off of, self-interest, but also yeah, I think I'm on one today, Free. I'm not gonna lie.
He gets permission to be though, because I was having quite the hold up. But anyways, yeah.
But having that opportunity to, especially if something's really good and you don't want it to just sit in the hopper, you know what I mean? You could just push that up to the forefront.
And for me,
content.
And for me, I'm really like characterizing quote unquote pretty good, really just to be like what's authentic. Like today just has an authenticity to it like no other episode. Like people don't even know how much I'm really just.
I was just about to say, I don't think
I'm really feeling it today.
I don't think,
and I'm really like feeling unkept. I'm feeling exposed and naked before the people, and they're like, I feel like everyone, look, even though no one's in the room, like right. It's like I'm feeling like the people are staring at me, giving me the weird side eye, and it's just like if you've heard any of my other episodes, guys, you could just tell I'm really having a day. But that's what I wanted to bring to podcasting. That's what I wanted to bring to
a level of
authenticity, right? Like no one's ever feeling their best self. No one's ever always like, feeling like they're nailing it, like it's on top. People have their bad days. Like I said, I've been rehearsing all week. My throat is sore from rehearsing. Freaking spent almost an hour trying to mess with this, microphone stand today. And, have other things at home waiting for me on the to-do list. It's just, you have those experiences, and like, we really have to find a way to get out of this thing where as creatives or people who have social media platforms, where you have to feel like you have to, in order to gain a certain measure of success or notoriety, it has to always be this most, perfect presentation that's presented to everybody. Like you can't allow anyone to see a hiccup or the flaw, or that's what's going to make you lose your followers, or, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know what? Then those weren't the followers I really freaking cared about anyway.
Exactly.
Please keep scrolling, unfollow me immediately. So
it's
if you're into the authenticity, then that's what you'll get here.
It's not only authenticity, but also consistency, because I think that's something that's incredibly important. And one of the things and that's why it's vulnerable that you're going into today the way you are, but also it's really important because of that consistency that comes in. There was this picture that has been circulating through social media that I've just kind of started to see. And I actually think one of my bosses were the ones that first put it up on my radar, but it was basically if you can imagine, two circles going in a horizontal way. It's like 6 circles going horizontally. On the top row, 6 of the circles are colored in fully. And it said, "This is not the mark of consistency." And then the next one underneath it said, "This is the mark of consistency." And it was like one circle was filled on the way, one was like halfway, one was like a little more, one was a little more, a little less, a little more. And the reality was, you can't expect yourself to always be at 100 all the way through, because that's not humanly possible. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days where you're feeling off. You're going to have days. But the reality is that you don't stop. Even when you're feeling those days, you push through. Like you say, you're feeling vulnerable today. You're feeling
so basically, the consistency is not being at 100 all these consecutive times in a row. The consistency is showing up.
It's showing up.
I showed up.
Yep,
I showed up today. Hey guys, you hear that? Hey, I showed up today.
Hey, half of.
I showed up today with my eyes low. That's the other thing too, man. I got my freaking hair braided. My freaking head's hurting. Jesus Christ, man. I'm wondering, why am I partially squinting this whole time and like my eyes feel heavy? It's because my freaking head hurts.
It does look good though. It does look good. Hey. I mean, I might be able to get it twisted too if I, wait a couple months.
I'll take it, man. I'll totally take it. I can't front though. As much as freaking pain in the neck and headache this mic stand gave me, I'm kind of loving it. I'm liking the way I can coddle it.
Yeah. No, I can tell.
Like I can kind of like lean here.
You want a couch? We can give you a couch and a pillow too.
I'm definitely feeling the coddle vibes. Yeah, man. But nah, I'm definitely gonna just continue to try to be authentic. You know what else interesting happened to me this week is that my oldest kid, she actually FaceTimed me today, and she's considering joining the military.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man. So I thought it was pretty cool that she wanted to include me in on that. As her dad, and she lives, in Florida with her mom.
Yep.
And a lot of those really like key marker events and like, decision making things, I kind of feel like I miss out on, because I'm not right there.
Yeah.
In that, house. But as she, getting older and navigating this new, kind of young adult space, she's 18 now. She I feel like she like reaches out to me like on her own for things that are new to her that she doesn't know about, like that she's gonna have to navigate. So I think I just felt, as a dad, just happy or excited about feeling included willingly by her.
Yeah.
Rather than like kind of being coerced or her mother telling her, hey, you should call your dad and see what he thinks, or, her just calling me and kind of, saying like, hey, could you be on the, phone, while I talk to this recruiter guy, or,
Yeah.
And so I really, really appreciate that, man. I was like, that meant a lot. I mean, outside of like all the, probably the normal things that maybe a parent could worry about when like, if their kid comes to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about going to the military, like, obviously, you worry about your kid's safety, or, them getting, being in, fighting or war or something like that. But I was really, really just excited about her just including me, I think. So I just was like just absorbing and taking in the moment for what that was worth, rather than like, being super critical about the moment or the details of it, but just taking that for what it was worth, that, hey, this, like, she's actually reaching out to include me, when as far as her age is concerned, she don't have to. Like, she's 18, you know?
It's a level of support that you're able to just, she was letting you in, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's that, but it's also the fact that, like, it was, like you were saying before, it was done voluntarily. And I think that's incredibly important, just off the strength of just like I said, I remember when I was 18, there were certain things I didn't want my folks involved in, but there were certain things that I look back on and I said, either A, I wish I had actually, swallowed that pride and let them in on, but then also, they're the things that I did let them in on. I was incredibly happy. So I got, obviously this is different than the military, but like, so growing up, I played baseball, and that was like my best sport. I might have mentioned that already before, but that was like my best sport. And I remember being, really self-conscious a couple times about playing baseball. My godfather used to always say, no sport humbles you more than baseball, because, you can have a 4-for-4 day and it's amazing, but then you got to play again the next day, and then you have 0-for-4 and you're right back. And so I remember like having this, feeling all these type of emotions at the time when I was like, 17, 18, around that time, playing baseball, of like, how am I really going to do? Like, am I really good enough to play in college? Am I good enough to do this? All of this stuff that was going on, and not having an outlet, and feeling like I had to like keep that inside, and not actually going to my parents about that. Yeah. Specifically my dad, who was a college athlete, who played at that level, who knows kind of what it feels like in that way. And so, fast forward, this is, like I said, this is back when I was like 17, 18. Fast forward almost 10 years later, my dad comes to visit me like 2 years ago. I think it was right before the pandemic, or maybe right in 2020, but he comes to visit. And we just, I don't know, we got riding around the old neighborhood down in Stratford, and we just started talking about like, I remember we used to go to that field, all that kind of stuff, just reminiscing. And I finally opened up about like, all the anxiety I was feeling and all the frustration I was feeling, and like, and I remember my dad told me, he was like, I never knew any of that. Wow. And in my head, I was like, man, I probably could have said something, because he could have helped. And that's what he told me. He was like, I could have helped. Because you can't, if you don't know, you can't really help. And so, like, kudos to your daughter for voluntarily coming to you about that kind of stuff, because, speaking from my own experience, when you don't do it, and, I never played, college sports. I ended up not playing college sports for several reasons, but it wasn't because I wasn't good enough. But one of the main reasons why I didn't play was because I didn't believe I was good enough. And there's a level of that I could have gotten if I would have opened up.
I mean, I'm sure it's different for like when it's a daddy's girl, or like, a female child versus like a, son, things they choose to maybe go to their parents or their father specifically maybe about. Excuse me. But I think if I can think back at like times that made me nervous or apprehensive about going to my parents for help was like, see, like I had, teenage parents, too. So as I got older, I think a lot of times I felt like I didn't want to trouble them because I think I perceived, I don't want to say like their ability, like, because my parents are both highly intelligent, like, teenage parents are not. But I think I just felt like they were just dealing with a lot already, just navigating parenthood and still pretty for a large part trying to get on their feet. And, and so as a kid growing up, I really tried to like do my best to not be what I would have felt was a burden. Even though like they would have hindsight look back at it and go, son, you're crazy. That wouldn't have been a burden. But like in my head, like I remember like my mom, like she tells this story about how, I'm going to elementary school at this time, like maybe fourth grade or whatever. And she ends up finding out somehow, that I wasn't approved for free lunch and that I needed to have money for lunch every day. And I'm staying with my grandma at the time. And so she asked me, she's like, so how have you been paying for lunch? Like, is grandma giving you money? And I'm like, nah. And she's like, well, then how are you paying for lunch? And I would go to school each day with like a fistful of permanent markers, different colors. And I would draw Sesame Street characters on friends' jeans. Like they would bring their clothes.
Oh, nice.
And I'd do that for lunch money, You
found a way.
And again, it right? Like it wasn't because my mom or my dad said, hey, we don't have any lunch money for you. It was like, I just wouldn't even say anything, because I didn't want to feel like I was being that burden, So I did a lot of like, being aware of that as my kids got older, and I could see some of the similar traits in them, just what appeared to be just like concern for their, parents and in points and in like junctures where I felt like that concern was like unhealthy for them. Like, hey, that's an adult matter. You actually shouldn't be worried about that. Like you're a kid. Enjoy being a kid. I did my best to do that and try to kind of keep that there. But for you, like what was that for you? Like the times where you can remember as a kid, where the things you withheld from bringing to your parents? Like what was the reasons where like you were apprehensive in those times?
It's funny because I think in some way, shape, or form, a kid always feels like, they don't want to be, at a certain point, they feel like they don't want to be a parent's burden. Because I think it also gets to a point where they start to realize the world that's around them. And they start realizing like, so my biggest thing was, and I remember feeling this way because, so my mom had a big thing about making sure, her kids got, a like paid for their education, the school of choice type thing. My parents were big into that. My mom specifically. Now, I remember looking around at my siblings and like my sister was, brilliant in school. She was like Dean's List in college and high school. She was on the honor society, all of that stuff. Both of my brothers, AP classes, honor society, all of that stuff, all that big.
Nice.
So for me, I was the athlete. So like I got good enough grades that I could play and get into school, but like a 3.1 GPA or a 2.9 GPA doesn't look as good when like my brother's got like a 3.9 or like my other brother's got like a 3.8 or my sister's bringing home a 4.0. So it's just it was. So I remember two times that happened when it came to school. One, feeling like my folks didn't need to pay for my school because it wasn't worth the investment, and I remember feeling that way because I ended up going to Notre Dame of Fairfield in Fairfield. And then it was between them and Kobe Cathedral in Bridgeport. And I remember saying to myself, I was like, why can't I just go to Stratford High? I was like, there's two more kids behind me. Daddy's getting ready to retire. Jessica's in college. Like, why don't y'all just let me go to Stratford High? I'll do the sports thing and we'll do it that way. And my parents were like adamant, like, no, that's not really happening. And I remember being like 7th, 8th grade and feeling like, I'm feeling like y'all gonna pay all this money and then like my grades are not gonna be that good, and then like now we're stuck here, y'all with this big old bill, and there's nothing I can do here. And
he's like, I'm trying not to feel guilty for the potential to bomb.
Exactly. Like, and I remember, so that was one. And then I remember when I, fast forward, I'm in school and everything. My grades are my grades. I'm not failing. I'm doing, average and everything. So I can't complain. My parents can't complain. I'm staying eligible. So
yeah.
Fast forward to SAT time, which was I do not like tests. I'm really bad at I didn't even want to take my driver's test. Like, I am not good at tests. And so I'm like freaking out about the SAT. I took the SAT 3 times and my score was just good enough to get me into school. So like, it's that too. So I remember after the first time I took an SAT, now granted, my sister took it before they changed the scoring system, but she got like a really good score. Like, I think the equivalency, she took it when it was not 2,400 like I did, but her equivalency would have been like 1,900. Wow. Right, so
400. When I took it, the max score was 1,600.
That's where she took it. She took it at 1,600. So she took it at 1,600, and I think she got like a 1,200 or something like that. So like or 12 or 1,300, but she did really well, or at least well. And so like when I took it the first time on a 2,400 scale, I got like a 12 something, and I just remember being like, "Ooh, okay." And then in the back of my mind, I was like, "Who? My parents gonna be like, what are we paying for?"
Wow, that's pretty bad.
No, it was. I mean, dude, I'm
joking.
Hey, look, I threw balls far.
I'm joking.
So after that first test, my mom came to me and said, let's get you into an SAT prep course. And I was like adamant about like, no, like that course is a lot of money. I had to write an essay about it to try and help. And like, my mom was like, write this essay so maybe we can get a little discount on it. And because again, there's 2 other kids behind me. My sister's in college ahead of me. Like, there's a lot going on. And in my head, I'm like, I see my dad, he was a fireman, but he's working, picking up extra shifts. I see my mom, working literally every single day. Like I'm not too out of my gourd to say like I didn't have like I had like a middle class upbringing, but both of my parents worked all the time. Like, my dad was home 3 days a week and then worked 24 hours after that just for his shifts. But then after that, as we started getting older and I'm playing travel baseball and I'm scouts are coming to my games and stuff like that, and I'm getting all these classes for sports, I didn't feel as bad because I knew I could perform on the field. But in the classroom, I wasn't confident in my performance. So I was like, all right, this is being a burden right now. This is not good, as I'm seeing all the other stuff that they're doing. So
man,
the SAT course comes around. I'm like, yeah, this is a lot of money. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this to y'all. Like, I kept having that mentality of like, yo, it's cool. Like, put me in a public school. Like, don't worry about, save the money for my brothers behind me. Like, I'll figure it out. I'll make my way. And like,
so you're basically, your mindset was just like basically like me.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Yeah. That's why when you said it, it resonated with me.
It might be like maybe like the reason why it is specifically might be different, but essentially you see what your parents are doing and perceive to some degree what it is that you might need or want as too much, even if they don't think so.
Exactly.
So, and that's what happens in our minds. But I think ultimately, it's a good thing. You know what I mean? I think as we take it into adulthood, maybe it's not good for us to have it like that early in age, because it could kind of feel like growing up too fast.
Yeah.
Because like now you're like a teenager worrying about adult.
I was gonna say, how old were you when you first started? Like when you started drawing on kids' jeans, if you could remember?
That was like 3rd grade.
Okay. Yeah.
4th grade, man, Yeah. Which, interestingly enough, my mom was like, this is why I got to get this kid out of New Haven, because he already showing signs of a hustler. I don't need him his jeans today and then it's the block tomorrow, He finding a way, he going to get this money. But I'm just trying to eat.
Yeah.
Just trying to eat.
Literally.
But yeah, man. I will say that you said something earlier about like the consistency thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'll end our episode with this last final thought, is that it's been like this journey as like an entrepreneur, like a full-time content creator, and whether that's me doing like, the podcast, music, the acting. Being consistent has really been a test. On the one hand, you kind of feel slightly embarrassed by the fact of it being a test in my particular like shoes, because it's all I have to do each day. Like, this is my full-time thing, right? But then, and even I had that mindset going into it. Yeah. Like, this is going to be easy to be nailing it.
On every day?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then you start to realize that the rest of life is still happening.
Yes.
So even though like this is the 9 to 5, this is like, officially what it is I do for a living to like make money, to take care of my family. All the other things that are happening in your household, in your family, in your life, in your extended family, like the things that are evolving and forever, the turning gears and elements in and around your life are still moving outside of that. So it weighs on you. Some things, they weigh on you not as like a surface thing or a thing where you can immediately perceive, but some things weigh on you on a subconscious level.
Yeah. And you don't even realize it.
And you don't even realize it, like you just wake up one day and like what we call and label as waking up on the wrong side of the bed, right? That can sometimes really just be a culmination of so many things subconsciously, like that you are just suppressing just because you just can't deal right now with it, or you don't want to deal right now with that thing. And so it's this buildup, you know what I mean? And so,
Yo, Frii, take the camera out of my apartment, bro.
like, for any of the other creatives out there and entrepreneurs, man, and people just trying to be consistent in anything, like you said, I love that just bite of wisdom that you shared, man. That's like a whole snack right there, bro. Like consistency is not necessarily like showing up every day 100%, I'm killing it, nailing it. It's the show up.
Yeah.
That part right there. Now, the way in which you show up, the percentage of which you showed up with at the office or whatever, granted, yes, that plays a role into like your outcome, your measurable outcomes, obviously, revenue being a direct, measure of that, right?
Exactly.
Right? Like, so obviously if you're showing up to work every single day or, your entrepreneur gig or whatever it is you do, showing up 50% every day, then yeah, you probably can't expect at the end of the month when it comes time to balance the books, things to be looking in your favor, right?
Exactly.
But that's not to say there's not a great wealth of benefit to be gained from simply showing up consistently every day. So whether, Monday and Tuesday, I showed up at 60%. Wednesday, I showed up at 100%. Thursday, I showed up at 110. Friday, I showed up came in at a 70. You know what I mean? I want to aim for the consistency and along the way, sharpen and like continue to like evolve and nail down the whole like, getting closer to, 100% every day,
That's the goal, because like I said, you're not going to be at 100% every day, but trying to be at 100% every day is where you're going to get yourself caught up.
Yeah.
That's where that burnout comes in. That's when the focus starts to wane a little bit. That's when the love of what you're doing can potentially go down the drain, because then it becomes a struggle. Then it's not organic. Then it's not something you love.
Well, I think it's fair for like people to want to show up and try to like each time they show up, aim for 100%. Like,
but understand that you might not always get there.
Yeah. So I think it's like, it's prioritizing the goal, right? Like, so once consistently showing up becomes second nature, like that's no longer a hurdle anymore. It's like automated now. It's like people who try to like, I want to start getting up at 5 a.m. And the first few weeks you set your alarm at 5 a.m., it's like hell, right? But then eventually you start waking up before the alarm goes off.
Exactly.
So now it's time and it's okay to up the goal. Let's turn it up a notch. All right. So nail down the consistently show up so much to the degree where now showing up is not a thing anymore. You know what I mean? It's not a challenge. That's easy. I do that with my eyes closed. So now we up the ante and go, okay, what could be the new goal once we arrive here? Yeah. Once we show up and we're here now, what are we doing now? What are we trying to improve when we show up.
Exactly.
Okay, because we got the showing up piece. That's first.
The foundation has been built.
Facts.
The foundation's built.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the edifier for the soul, man.
Absolutely.
Unless you have something else, man, to give the people. What's edifying for the soul? I
mean, honestly, I think we just touched on it right there. It's just that consistency. I think that's the one to go to. I mean, don't mess with a thing that's already fixed. Don't there's a Mike joke there. I almost said it. Don't mess with something that's already fixed. And I was just like, don't fix something that's already not gonna work. I don't mean to do that to you, but no,
too soon.
Too soon. It's okay. I understand that, but no, reality, man, is just like that's the nugget from today. That is absolutely the nugget. That foundation's too important, and the love of what you do is too important to try and, let it go by the wayside because you're trying to be Superman. Like, we're human. Be
consistent, man.
Be consistent. That's the point.
That's the word of the day, guys. It's free lunch, free food for your soul. Be consistent. Peace.